LearnCity. My name is Praise, and in today's class we'll be starting a brand new topic on logic. A proposition is a statement or sentence that is either true or false, but not both. A simple statement or proposition is a statement containing no connectives. In other words, a proposition is considered simple if it cannot be broken into sub-propositions. In our previous videos, we've talked about logic, where we talked about logical reasoning, inductive and deductive reasoning, and we explained some stuff on mathematical reasoning. And in today's class, we'll be explaining proposition, in which a proposition is a statement or sentence that is either true or false, but not both. A simple statement or proposition is a statement that has no connectives. In other words, a proposition is considered simple if it cannot be broken up into sub-propositions. On the other hand, a compound proposition is made up of two or more propositions joined by the connectives. These connectives are and, or, if, then, if, and only if. They are also called logic operators. Now, logic operator symbol, we have and, we have or, we have if then, we have not, and we have if and only if. In our previous classes, we also explained negation of a statement and negation of a statement. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, go back to our previous videos, watch our videos on logic, then it will enable us to understand much more what we are talking about on logic. Now we have our and. Our and is represented as this. Our or is represented as this, in which are is the opposite of or. If then, which is an if statement, is represented as this. If and only if is represented as this, and not, which is the negation of a statement, is represented as this. This serves as the negation of the statement. Now, if P and Q are two statements or propositions, then conditional statements and indirect proofs are: first one, the statement P and Q is called the conjunction of P, Q, which means P conjunction Q means P and Q. You know, we talked about conjunction, disjunction, conditional statement, converse of a conditional statement, negation of a statement, negation of a statement. We talked about the contrapositive of a statement. We talked about contradiction of a statement and tautology in our previous videos. And now we explain much further. Now, when we have something like this, this is known as P conjunction Q. This is known as P conjunction Q, which means P and Q. The statement is saying P and Q. Now, when we have something like this, it is known as P or Q, either P or Q. It is known as disjunction of P and Q. We have it to be disjunction of P and Q. When we have something like this, we have this to be the statement P is conditional to Q, which means P implies Q or Q implies P. Which means if P is this, then Q is that. So this means implication of P and Q. It is a condition of P and Q. It's known as a conditional statement. Now, when we have something like this, it is known as the converse of the conditional statement. We have it to be the converse of the conditional statement. So our conditional statement is P conditional Q. So the converse of that conditional statement is now Q conditional P. That is the converse of the conditional statement. Now, the inverse of the conditional statement, the inverse of conditional statement is known as negation P to negation Q. This is the inverse of the conditional statement P to Q. So this is the converse. This is the inverse. And now we have the contrapositive. We have the contrapositive. And the contrapositive of P to Q, we have it to be negative Q to negative P. So it's just like converse is the opposite of conditional statement, but contrapositive is the opposite of inverse statement. Now, the statement P to Q is called the biconditional of P and Q, where we have this to be P to Q. This is a biconditional statement. P to Q is a biconditional statement. And when we have something like this, it is known as negation P, which is known as negative P, which means it is false, it is a false statement, or it is not a true statement. We can also have it to be negative Q. We have it to be negative Q. And also, we also have something to be this, where we have negation P, which is also known as P. So, the false of a false statement is known as a true statement. Now, when a compound proposition is always true for every combination of values of its constituent statement, it is called a tautology. When a compound proposition is always true for every combination of values of its constituent statement, it is called a tautology. On the other hand, when the compound proposition is always false, it is called a contradiction. So in which it means when we have series of statements and the combination of values there is true for every statement, for every constituent statement, the compound proposition is true, then it is called a tautology. Like when we have 8 different statements and the compound proposition is all true, then it is called tautology. Now, for that 8 statements, if we have our compound proposition to be always false, in which it is negative, false, negation of this statement, then it is known as contradiction. And this brings us to the end of our class on logic, which we have explained on proposition and compound proposition. And in our next class, we will briefly explain to us what truth table means. And I'll be seeing you in the next class. Like and comment on our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is LearnCity. And I'll be seeing you in the next class. Thank you.